computer up yesterday.
I think we're 2 minutes
Hey,
early.
I think we're live. We might be we are a couple minutes early. Morning, everybody. I'm glad
Oh,
you guys could join us on this. This is our second show of 2026. I think.
you think you're
I
right.
think. I think Thursday was our first day. Was that New Year's? I don't know. I can't even know what today is. Tell you the truth. Let me look.
Third.
The third. Okay. So Abe and I are we're kind of doing this thing. We're trying to go back to Saturdays because Thursdays are really crowded, and it's kind of a get you guys trained for the days again. But um, so we're going to kind of wait a little bit and just talk a little bit first before we get started. We're going to talk about beating the HOA today. The HOA, I don't have that problem, but my buddy Abe does.
I do.
So I'm going to use him for, and you guys, people out there in the audience there, in the stream. Since I don't have the problem, I don't worry about it. But what I have actually can work for you guys. Well, outside of my tower stuff. But we're going to talk about different ways of beating them. And I did kind of Google this to see what Google would say, and they've got a few things that basically what I already knew. Basically, you can do it one of two ways. But Ape, what do you got going on? I think you just drop another video? No, you dropped
Well, I did a couple.
one a couple days ago.
Yeah, and I got another one I'm supposed to be working on, but you just get so busy sometimes that
Yeah.
it's tough.
I tell you what, man, I got sick right at Christmas. I had a video I'm supposed to do. They wanted me to get it out by it's a review, so it probably won't do great, but they wanted it out by December, and it's like, well, don't drop it on me like the day before Christmas. It's kind of hard to get it out that fast. But that will be on a DC to DC alternator charger. And the only reason I took it is because I've been kind of wanting to know what they're like. And didn't know that much about them until I actually got it.
So do you charge your battery from that off the alternator then when you're like driving or something?
This one is made for solar generators.
Mhm.
Because solar generator is already made to accept, because it has a solar controller built in, and it's already made to accept voltage in watts from your solar panels. So I think if you were going to hook this to your actual batteries, you'd have to have something like that to run it through first. Because I always watch, and I said this in the video, I always watch videos just to see if I missed anything, because I don't want to miss anything from my video. And one of the guys was talking about charging lithium batteries with it, and there's nowhere in the instructions does it say you can do that.
They're saying my mic's hot. Is that any better now, or
Well, I might be louder than you right now, tell you the truth.
let me know how it is now, Hank. I was messing with it before the show, and I'm pretty
So
sure.
it was a fun little experiment. I didn't. It's basically a hook up to your starting battery and your alternator, basically your alternator and your starting battery together. And I did notice that some people didn't warn about certain things, and I tried to go a little farther. I may get in trouble with the company, but I don't really care. I'm just trying to be honest with people. And
God
you know,
forbid.
I don't take things that I don't think are decent in the first place. So I don't get too many bad reviews, unfortunately. I mean, I'm sure people look at that as like I like everything, but it's I just don't take stuff I don't think is good to start with.
Well, I don't wanna do videos that everybody else is doing, and the battery stuff is super saturated these days, so I still
It is.
get lots of offers for batteries, but
Mm. Oh
most of
yeah.
the time, I just don't
I probably
don't
turn
do
down
it.
one or two a week,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
just don't even get back to them. And then sometimes it's like off the wall batteries I don't know anything about, and
Right, right.
I'm just not.
Well,
I,
I don't wanna take them apart, like, so the other one is everybody wants you to take the batteries apart.
no, I have a hard time
But,
wasting something that's good. I mean, if I got one
um
that's totally untested good, maybe you take that apart, right?
well, you can take a battery apart and cause a problem fast.
Right.
Like, if you short it out or something like that, then you could potentially have some problems there, and I just don't wanna mess with all that stuff.
Okay, well, let's get started here. So beating the HOA, a lot of you guys have HOAs. Like I said, I don't really have one personally here. Ape does, so I'm gonna fall back on him a little bit. But basically when I Googled this, it basically said two strategies. One strategy is to be stealth and inconspicuous with your antennas, which is probably where I'd start. You know, beg for forgiveness before you ask. You know,
Yeah,
but
I agree.
and the other one is to go legal routes, and that one's once you've done that, you've pretty much told people that, hey, this is what I do. And I would actually, if you have neighbors that you don't trust, I wouldn't say anything to them either.
Well, HOA Bob had a really good recommendation, and listen, HOA Ham Bob, he's the guy on this topic.
We should have actually got him in here today.
But the thing is that he says that he tells people that he is licensed by the FCC, which is true, right? He
This is
says
true.
he's an FCC licensed person, and he starts the conversation with that as a position of authority, which I think is a fantastic idea.
Yeah. I mean, and he's not lying. He is licensed by the FCC. But I've got a couple of things that I'll share later in the show. I'll put links to them. I think they're, to tell you the truth, I think they're both from DX Engineering. DX Engineering has a thing called On All Bands. It's a blog, a radio blog. It says amateur radio blog, and I found something, and that's this one here. And it basically goes down that this says they get asked all the time, which I don't doubt. I mean, and if you guys don't know, we're not affiliated with DX Engineering at all. We use them a lot because their website is one of the easiest to navigate. But I use them a lot too because you'll see in the next thing that we're going to show you, um, they actually do a lot of testing with stuff they sell. And if you buy certain antennas from them, they actually have their specs for setting it up. Plus, they offer their own antennas. Their stuff is really heavy duty built, and it usually has a pretty good price on it. But I mean, most places that you're buying built antennas are expensive anyhow, and sometimes what you get for it is, I don't know, not always the best. As far as, I mean, maybe good. It might be something that's built really well, but maybe not a great antenna sometimes.
Yeah, and so Liberty Case says HOAs are communist and un-American, and I kind of agree. So the thing is that the HOA lobbyist group is pushing to have more and more HOAs, and then in a lot of areas, you really don't have an option other than an HOA
Right.
type scenario. And when you buy your home, you are entering willingly into an agreement.
Right.
A lot of times, I don't think HOAs annex houses. They might in certain cases, but the thing is that there's one of the most important investments that you make in your life is your home, right? And for a lot of
Right.
folks, it's the biggest investment that they ever make. HOAs do protect the value of your home, and I got to tell you, um, I'm not upset that I live in an HOA. I'm upset that I don't have more influence over the rules, which is why I support the work of the ARRL in trying to lobby Congress to get exceptions for amateur radio operators. I think that would be a fantastic thing.
Right.
But I don't want some guy parking a giant boat on the street in front of my house. You know what I mean? Or I don't want
See, I'm that guy.
right. I don't want a backyard mechanic across the street with a bunch of teared up Chevelles out in the front yard, or people leaving appliances in their yard or spray painting their house. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I don't want that because I've made a significant investment in my home. And a lot of people are like, "Well, it's my house and all this." I think it's somewhere around 65% of homes in the United States are under mortgage. And there's 3 different, laws that kinda govern ownership of mortgage. In some states, the person who holds the mortgage, the bank, actually owns the home. In
Right.
some states, it's the bank and the person who lives there owns the home. And then in some cases, it's the person who lives there that owns the home. The thing is that, like, here, our HOA does have elections, and you can run and you can vote. You can be a board member and have a vote there. But for me, if I showed up at the HOA and said, "Hey, I wanted to put up a tower," I know it would not get approved.
Right. And I understand that, and that's what they're saying here too. Is like, can you uh, can you put a wire antenna up that's as good as something you can throw on a tower? No, it's not. But
Right.
you have to. I mean, most people don't have towers anyhow. I mean, I have one, but I live in I live in a spot where I have like 200 feet on my lot. So I have more room than most people have, especially in California.
Yeah,
But,
I don't have much room. I do have a 35-foot mast out in the backyard,
right.
and, people will walk by and stop and point and look at it and all that, and when I see that,
Mhm.
I make it a point to go out and say, "Hey, how you guys doing?"
Right.
And I'll talk to them, and, what I tell people is because nobody knows what ham radio is, and sometimes people
No.
do it. I tell them, "Hey, it's just an antenna for short wave for radio, and,
Right.
that's what I'm into, and, and my kids like it, and I've never had anybody say anything, complain, or bellyache about it. But the thing is, a lot of times hams take a really defensive posture first, and, I don't do
Right.
that. I would recommend that that's not
And if you guys have anything that you wanna add, just put it in the for everybody else to see down in the comments also. I I I think now I don't live in one, but I would think the worst thing that you could have for an HOA is the person in charge being that person that wants to be the little, "I wanna be in everybody's business," and that's what I've seen
right.
out on the outsides, looking in a few places around here. I did deal with stuff like that at times in the fire service. I mean, they would call us about things, try to get us involved, and that's stuff we didn't get involved with because it wasn't our business. But but those certain HOA presidents or whoever was in charge tried to do that at times, and we didn't buy into it.
Well, the thing is that, like, we had some people on the HOA board. The problem is that if you get the HOA upset at you,
Mhm.
you're gonna be under a microscope, and they're gonna look
Right.
at any and every violation, and every single person is violating something. So here's an example. On the side of my house, behind a giant bush, is where I keep my trash cans, and
Mhm.
that's against the rules. And, you're supposed to put them inside your garage is the rule
Oh,
here.
really? Ours just
Yeah.
have to be out of sight, supposedly.
Yeah, and I just don't put them inside my garage. Now, my neighbor, he built, like, a little wooden box, and he puts his in the wooden box on the side of his house and everything, and it looks nice,
Mhm.
but he's violating the HOA. So if,
Right.
now my neighbor, he had some, uh, like moss, it's like algae, I don't know what you'd call it, but he had some green stuff starting to grow on the side of his house.
Mhm.
And the HOA sent him a letter and said he had 30 days to get rid of it, and, he didn't do it, and then so they sent him another letter, and they said that they had hired a company to come out and clean it off. And the company's somebody's brother-in-law and all this other stuff,
Right, of course.
and they charge, like $1,500, way more than it would normally. So my neighbor, and he's a fight the power kinda guy, and so
Mhm.
what he did is he went and rented a cherry picker, like, from, a rental place where you can,
Right.
and this thing was monster size. I mean, it was on the back of a giant truck, and he brought it up, and he blocked the whole intersection with it, and he got in the bucket, and it, like, went way across the street and then across his yard, and he caused such pandemonium and problems for the entire neighborhood by putting it out there.
Right.
And when everybody was complaining, he's like, "Hey, the HOA's doing," so he kind of flipped the script on the HOA.
Yeah, they made me do it.
Right,
Yeah.
right, and so
Hey,
now everybody's mad at the HOA and not him about it.
all right. So basically, you're looking for what a more stealthy type antenna. Verticals work really well for this because you think about a vertical, most of them are ground mounted to start with, and that's
Right.
where you're going to mount it. So um, you're not really making it worse. I mean, if I don't live in a HOA, if I put a vertical in my backyard, same difference, right? The only difference I might have is I might be able to get it further away from my house. So an HO, and I think like our Poseidon would be a really good one. If you have any radio, pretty much
Yeah.
you can tune it for most. I mean, it's good for like 40. If you extended it, you could probably get. I mean, you could talk 80 on it. It may not be the best, but you could. And
Well, I
it's
put a longer, I think I put a 50-foot, which is, like, basically doubling the element on it.
right.
So I mounted it up 25 feet, and then I took 25 feet as
Hmm.
a inverted L, and, I think I did get 80 on there if I remember correctly. It made 40 a little bit tougher to tune, but, with an external tuner, I was fine with it.
It actually might be one of those good things where you have a way of. rolling it in and out, kind of
Mhm.
like the adjuster wave. That might not be a bad antenna. Actually, if you guys are, he doesn't sell
Well,
them, but Colin did the
mount
adjuster wave.
put 2 of them up. You
Mm,
know what I mean? Like, it's a small
or put 2 up, right.
it's
It
a
doesn't
small
take up
antenna.
and if you guys watched the last show on Thursday, we talked about wires, and you might go back to that and look at different wires that we talked about that were more stealthy, the stuff that, even that stuff that, Ziggy likes to use. He uses that jeweler stuff,
Right,
and
right.
it is a metal, and, he said it's silver, but I looked at it, it doesn't say it says silver coated, so I'm sure it's something that's stronger than just regular silver, but
But he got
it's
300 feet of that for, like,
super.
$9 or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's or more. It might be more than that. But still, I mean, something like that super thin, and his had a black coating, and black is one of those colors that kinda blends in, gray, light blues. So think about your wire when you're doing your stealthy antenna. Now, DX Commander would be another good antenna. Has a little more out there than, say, the Poseidon does because you have multiple lines, but you don't need a tuner. And that's something that if you got there are a couple guys in the UK that kind of specialize in setting and it was DX Commanders, the ones they were using, and they were setting them up for what they call gardens, which we call yards, and basically ways of setting it up really fast. Like they might leave it leaned against their house where you don't really see it in the backyard or something like that, and then they just drop it in during the day, or during the night or day when they want to use it. The less time it's up in the air, like Ape's able to leave his up and people don't do anything, but you may not be that lucky, right?
Yeah, and I take it up and down and, like, um, because I change antennas a lot, but
Yeah.
with my 35-foot mast, the mast is black, and really nobody says anything about it. I do have a tree on one side that kinda blocks it from view.
Hopefully, guys can read this. I'm not really reading it, so I'm just kinda moving
James
it
is
here with
asking
Colin.
about tape measure. Will tape measure work for a vertical element? It will, but it'll be
Sure.
directional.
The tape measure?
Mhm.
You can use it for a vertical. It'll be omnidirectional still, right? Should be.
Well, it's more directional off the broad sides of the tape
Oh,
than
well, maybe a little bit, but yeah. But
yeah,
that
but
would
no, I
work.
mean, if that's what you got, that's what you got. Put it up.
That would probably show up more than just a piece of wire, though.
Yeah.
But you can get them pretty cheap sometimes. So you go to Home Depot for freebies.
Well, the thing is you have to
Um,
support the tape measure, right? And
right.
so
Yeah,
you
something
can
still needs to be supported.
it'd be a
Now
lot cheaper to run some speaker wire up there.
the nice thing with the Poseidon, or if you customize a DX Commander, you can hang a DX Commander also probably without using the mast if you have a good tree for it.
Right.
When we sent one of our antennas, our Poseidons, to Michael, KB9 VBR, and I asked him directly, "Hey, throw this thing up in a tree for us because I want people to know that that's an option." And he did. I mean, he's really good at it. It probably take me a few more throws than it took him, and I think he did it on one throw. But that's another way of all you have is a piece of wire hanging down, and when you have just one piece of wire hanging down, it's pretty invisible. I mean, you can get that really small wire. Um, the other thing is you guys can just work portable too. I like working portable, to tell you the truth, when I go places.
A lot of people do work portable because of HOA and because of noise
Noise,
floor.
yes. So there is advantages to that.
Uh, 45's got a question for you, Chuck.
Yeah, because it's something that's harder for most people to build more than anything else. If now the flagpole antenna is one of the things because most HOAs have an exception for flagpoles, right? I mean, how could they not? Um, and if you look around hard enough, there's guys on the internet that have built their own. There's a guy that does one, and I didn't find it today or yesterday when I was looking at stuff, but he does basically an off-center fed flagpole, and he builds it off of like a flagpole from Harbor Freight or someplace like that. Just buys aluminum because you can buy aluminum flagpoles for pretty cheap compared
There
to
was like they remember we
antennas.
saw them for like $100 for like a
Yeah, and so you can
32
build
foot
your own,
flagpole.
even a vertical one is easier. You have to make sure that you isolate it from the ground, right? So,
Yeah.
and you'll see something where I'm going to show you something like that today that's cheaper than most of those. and it's kind of interesting. I actually have the antenna. That'll be the next thing we're going to show you guys. But and I'll post all this stuff a little bit later in the stream for you guys, so you guys can read this at home. But and when you're doing your verticals, if you want longer bands, you can do like the an inverted L type antenna that can get you the lower bands. I did that on a DX Commander because DX Commander is usually 40 to 10, right?
Mhm.
And I did 80 off of mine one time as an inverted L. I actually, tell you the truth, mine was a pretty good inverted L because I think I pulled it off of the tree behind it, which was way higher. So it wasn't really, it was almost a vertical, totally.
Yeah, here's another comment about the flagpoles. They do get expensive, and our buddy Brickerhouse was saying that some of them have tuners at the base of the antenna, which definitely would add to the cost of that. So
Yep.
that's if you want like a multi-banded option. But I got to
That
tell
is,
you, as somebody who was, when we're doing the car tennis, which we still have some. So if you want them, email coffeeandhamradios.com, and we're working on storefront. But you make almost nothing when you do that. So for us, like the car tennis is kind of just like a hobby kind of thing. But
mhm.
if that's your business, you do need to turn a profit, right? Like you have all kinds of things that you need to pay for. And the supply and demand, like how many, I don't know anybody personally, and even internet friends, right? I don't know anybody with a flagpole antenna. Now, maybe there's somebody watching that has one. So the supply
Don't
and
really
demand
either.
thing enters into the equation, right? So if you have all the tooling and the parts and the shipping worked out and the marketing and the website, you got to charge a lot of money in order to get them into people's hands. If
Well, like,
everybody bought them, they'd be cheaper.
yeah, your mask costs $80 to $100, or if
Shit,
what did your big mask cost? It
like
costs more than
250,
that.
like 250.
You're talking 250 for a fiberglass mast. I mean, is I mean, a bunch of aluminum costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if you guys want to do it, I mean, I wouldn't mind doing a video on that, on building one. You just, but basically, you want to put your tuner at the bottom. Since we're on the on this right now, we'll talk about a little bit what guys do. A lot of guys will take. You got to bury your coax somehow so the HOA doesn't see it, and hopefully you do that when nobody's out or not around. Usually, if you're working on your flagpole, they wouldn't understand that you're doing anything like that anyhow.
Well,
Um,
so I've got an end-fed half wave. I run my coax out across the yard so the lawn guy can hit it. Hey,
right,
Don. And then I've got a 49-to-1 mounted on the back fence post. I just hammered a nail into the wood, threw a loop
right,
over it, put it on, zip tied it in place. And then I've got I'm really lucky in that from my back fence post to the apex of my house is like 70 feet.
mhm,
And so I can put a 66-foot aerial up on about 35-degree angle right up to my house. And nobody can see that it's out there. I mean, not a
right.
single person. So the wiring
Well,
antennas are super stealth, and if you use gray wire, it's even more stealth.
well, and the other thing, so these flagpole antennas, you do need a tuner to be the most efficient. You want your tuner at the bottom. So what a lot of guys do is they put plants around it, to hide that kind of stuff. So then you can
Right.
put a little box out there, keep it good. Those kind of tuners are expensive, but if you're only in the, I mean, Don's been looking at this stuff, so he could probably list some for you guys if you're looking for some kind of tuner that's remote. Um, but if you're only doing 100, 120 watts, something like that, they're not too bad. You could also do just a wire. If you guys, I mean, if you're looking at a vertical, who was it? It was Randy. Randy did it for for his trailer. Remember, he just did a wire in the back, used
Yeah.
a tuner at the bottom. You kind of want an outdoor tuner, a remote tuner for that. I mean, you can talk all over the world with that. I mean, people do it. I mean, a lot of guys, tell you the truth, the guys with the KX2s that go out, one of their antennas that Elecraft puts out there is just a wire
Well, I think
with the
that you could,
radio.
like, to your point, I think you could get workable solutions out there that would allow you to
Mhm.
make contacts everywhere, but they're not the best antennas. I think where a lot of people want, like, a contest grade,
Yeah,
5-element
you're not
beam
gonna.
on a rotor.
You're probably not gonna do that. You might be able to put something up temporary at night or something like that when nobody can see it. Now, another good antenna I think would be if you really want low visibility and all that stuff is the magnetic loops. Those could be. they're 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 kind of hard when you want to change bands and stuff. And I'll tell you guys right now, don't buy the ones with the motors because I did that. If you do band to band, like you go to 20 to 30 to 40, they're not bad because you're only moving a little ways. But if you want to go from 20 to 80 or 40,
That's a big deal.
it takes a long time to get there. So, but that is another way. And being that they're high Q, they actually work fairly good. And I think if you get them in the air a little bit, still behind your house or something like that, you can probably get out pretty good. I've talked to guys on magnetic loops, and I've been surprised how well they work. The hard part there is getting something that'll do 100 watts. And I think a lot of the manufacturers now are offering 100-watt versions. When they first came out, it was like if you were lucky to get 30 watts out of them.
So somebody was joking around here. I don't know how you say that. Zavani, Xvani, put fake moss on it and tell them it's a butterfly haven. So the thing is that there is sometimes exemptions for ecological, I think is the right
Oh,
word.
really?
I'm not good at fancy words, but I did look into it, and you can actually have a bird sanctuary in your backyard, and then the bird sanctuary exempts you from certain HOA rules. So, like, if you have a certain amount of bird feeders up, and then you have like water and all this other stuff for them, then
Mhm.
then you can apply for the sanctuary status. But the thing is like if you do that, you get, and we talked about it earlier, you get put on the list. You know what I mean? And they'll find and well, this person's got too many cars in the driveway or something like that. They'll find
Now,
a
Radio
reason.
Spectre asked about do you have to have the flag up all the time? Flags are not supposed to be up all the time unless you have a light on them, technically. If there's a lot
Right.
of rules for flags too, guys. So if you don't, I would just say don't put a light up because I don't want to pay for the permit to put the electrical out to it, right?
Right.
Mine's only going to be good for certain times of the day. And I mean, there's always ways to work around things, but
You remember the movie The Burbs? And
the
the
birds, no.
yeah, and they had the army guy who would go out and put his flag up every morning.
Yeah.
Like he had like a whole ceremony where he went out and put the flag up.
Well, we were supposed to pull the flags down every night at 4 or 5 o'clock at night at the firehouse. That was the so now here's the antenna we're going to talk about hide in plain sight. It says they're talking about Old Glory flag, and what I'm going to show you guys is it's a Hustler antenna. This is a pretty popular antenna, and they're not super expensive. They're around three something. I mean, you can pay more than that for something from Chameleon or some of the other companies that's probably not as good. A 4B TV, that's a Hustler. That's a 4-band radio. The 4 stands for 4 bands. Basically 21 feet. And I'm going to show you a little article. I think it was from DX Engineering. I think that's why I have both here. But basically, this guy puts it in a PVC tubing and makes a flagpole out of it.
Is that antenna ground mounted? Because like we got that
It
vertical
is.
from MFJ, but they wanted you mounted on like a 20-foot mast.
What do they?
So
This is
the
ground
antenna is
mount.
like
Yeah.
28 feet. You put it on a 20-foot mast. Now you're 40 some feet in the air.
Now, this is a ground mount antenna. I actually have one. I used it for a little bit. And this is what I was talking to you guys about DX Engineering. Even if you don't buy it from them, check out their site because they have instructions. They've already set these things up and set them up for you and give you all kinds of measurements and stuff for it. Makes it pretty because it's not I wouldn't say it's a super easy antenna to put together, but there's a lot out there on it, so it's not that hard.
Well, the
Just kind
tuning
of
is the hard part, right?
the tuning, but they pretty much break it down to where you can get it pretty much right on. And it does have a capacity hat. And the guy said he took the capacity hat off and just left it off, and it worked fine. Now he did mention using a tuner. Well, I'll show this stuff to you guys in a little bit. So,
Jason's
um,
asking about short end fed antennas, and so I did a
yes,
video, and I think it's called like the best antenna for small yards. And it's a I call it the Shorty 40, and it's a 40-meter end fed half wave that has a coil after the 20-meter resonant point on the antenna. Overall antenna length is 42 feet, and you can mount that in your attic. You can mount it outside. It is a good solution for that. Does not require a tuner.
and I just built this the other day. Something we made. Who knows? This is like basically the Sporty 40 from who was it? The Wolf River Coils makes this. Everybody else has copied
Yeah.
it now. Pretty easy to make. This is not PVC. It's actually printed. I also did one where it has caps for it, so that's a power pole. It's not pushed all the way in yet, and then you could add this to like a wire antenna to make it longer also. So stuff like that's something an option, especially on your vertical. A 17-foot this thing right here, a 17-foot vertical, 2.5 poles in, and it's perfect without radios. I didn't even put radios
140, right?
in. Test it for 40, yeah. You will lose a little bit of efficiency, but now you're not putting a 40-foot piece of whatever up in the air there, right?
Right, right.
Now, another good thing that people talk, and I've seen some articles on this, is screwdriver antennas like the ATAS 120, something like that. Or I have a high Q. You can ground mount those things also, or you can actually get them on a. You could put it on a mast in your backyard, and just probably still keep it below what people can see from the front if you do it in the back. And this way, you have multiple bands that are chargeable. Again, it's not as efficient as a long piece of wire, probably. But I tell you what, the first time I hooked mine up, I got made a contact on, I think it was 10 meters or 20 meters into South America, just sitting on the hill above my house. So they
Yeah,
work. I mean,
I think that something like the Poseidon's still the go-to if
yeah,
you have
which is a
really.
Ribikoff. If you guys don't, we named it different. We do it a little bit different. We use more radios than they do.
Mhm.
We use a different core, so you can chart. You can't. It usually comes with a red core. That red core is only good for a couple bands on your internal tuner. And we just tried this green one, and it works. So
What do you think about the people who do, like, the rain gutter antennas and stuff?
that's an option. The only thing I would worry about is there is some power put out on stuff, right?
Right, right.
And if your gutters are hooked to it, somebody could come by, and I don't know if it would hurt anybody or not. I've never tested. I've never grabbed a hold of the antenna when I'm talking on it, but
Well, the thing is like, the th all your rain gutters, they do have paint on them, right? So they're not all bonded
Mhm.
together. So
Right.
you probably don't get as much, um, conductivity as you think that you would. Now you probably do get coupling between them, and, you can't really control the radiation pattern and all, but we're talking about compromised type antennas. If that's
What
all
I
you
would
got,
rather
go
what I would
after
rather do is use my gutters for wire. Hook a wire to them off of them a little ways,
it. Mhm. Tune it.
and tune the wire. I think a loop might be good if you can figure a way to get a loop all the way back to your house and not be in the way, at fence height or something like that. That might not be a bad antenna. And for listening, the old loop on the ground thing might be a good way to go. Because say you are using a vertical, say you're in a noisy area, you might want something to listen on a little bit better, not so much to transmit on, but to get a little less noise, right? Because sometimes verticals can be noisy, and it depends on where you live. I'm pretty lucky here. I do get a little more noise on a vertical than I do my other antennas, but I don't have every once in a while though. I have a school across the creek from me. Every once in a while, I think they run something that I hear on my antennas. But so so the screwdriver antenna is another. That's an option. It's a more expensive option, but there are cheaper ones. I think Diamond makes one. I think if you look at the here, I'll click on this. I don't know what it's going to do, but this is something they sell. Did it bring it up? Yeah, it did. So this is it's still $400. I don't know that that's any cheaper than the. I mean, you're talking money when you buy a screwdriver. This is. I have a high Q. The high Qs are, I would say, a better setup, and mainly because they use a bigger coil. The coil does not move, so if you did set it up someplace, it's not going to grow. So that might be a good style, but they're expensive. They're not cheap. I bought mine. They've gone up quite a bit since I bought mine. I run it on my truck. It works great. Having a
Oh,
bigger
boy.
coil doesn't have as many coils, right?
Here we go. Everybody boo Dave
That
in
was
Temecula.
Dave. That was actually on my list. If this is all you can do it, baby. Why not? I've made a lot of contacts on ham sticks, and you can do the ham sticks as a dipole also.
You
If
know,
you
I
can,
should pick up one of those 160 ham sticks and see how it works out.
the 160 ones. I think Don has one of those, doesn't he?
Yeah, they're
Was he?
supposedly
Was he?
pretty big.
Oh, are they?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're not like the 8-foot ones. I think they're a
I'm
little
glad
bit.
he brought that up because I that was on my list. Actually, I
So
didn't
I
remember.
like gable antennas. They're ground mounted vertical solutions. I think are pretty clever. They're relatively
Yeah,
affordable and they're lightweight. They asked me to review the screwdriver, and I didn't. They wanted it mounted on a vehicle, and I didn't feel like going through all the grief of grounding and bonding and all the HF on in a vehicle. It's just not my thing.
and that is the one of the biggest problems on the ATAS is you need to have it grounded real well. I didn't even bond anything on my truck. My truck has a lot of metal on it though. The exhaust is huge on the thing, and it would probably be better if I did do a little bit of bonding, and I may do that someday. I bought the stuff to do it. I bought the big cable,
Mm.
because one of the things they tell you on your vehicle is your exhaust. Add your exhaust in there. So let's see what it says down here a little bit later. They only come out at night. So outdoor antenna is always preferable, but some may be too large, easily seen, especially on lower bands. Many OHOAs choose antennas that operate at night. Now, the other thing is if you have an attic space and it's fairly big. I did a video on the Cobra antenna where it's basically a doublet that you run the wires back and forth. Not something I would run most of the time personally because I don't need to, but it does help for people that don't have room. But in an attic, what I would do is I would pick the middle of my attic and find out how far apart I could go, and that's how far I would take the winds where they go back and forth. If that makes sense to you guys. You have to watch that video if you want. But the Cobra is a manufactured antenna from a company. They call it the Cobra. You can buy them from them. Theirs are a little bit heavy, but if you're putting in your attic, probably not a bad deal. The reason they're heavy is because I think they actually use lamp cord, so
Yeah, that same cord is heavy stuff.
it's kind of heavy.
I'm
That was the only
I'm
problem
not
I
trying to give Dave a hard time, but now he's talking about the TN07. Um,
had.
I'm just not a fan. And so when they came out with like their HOA Buster or whatever it's called, um, they a lot of the YouTubers reviewed them and were like saying how great it was because they were getting 1-to-1 on any band. When you look at the sweep for the antenna, it's pretty much flat across the entire HF spectrum, and that's bad, right? That means that you have a super lossy antenna, and
Yeah, you want peaks and valleys.
you can build a Ribacol for $50, right? And not have that problem. So I'm
Actually,
not a fan of them.
our other one, if you're building it if you're getting it for your house, would be a better setup. Actually, the what do we call that one? The Chronos.
Right.
That would actually be a better something you're going to set up at your house all the time because it has a little bigger toroid. It has a box, so everything's kind of protected. A waterproof box also. Mini dipoles combines two single mobile sticks. This is basically, I think they're talking about using the what Dave brought up earlier, the ham sticks. And something like that you could put up and down at night. Okay. Then they have a couple other antennas: the Hustler 6B TV, the Butternut HF 6V. Now, I think this Butternut is probably a pretty good antenna, but I think it gets a little more expensive.
It's got
And
a
the
lot of
Cushcraft,
stuff hanging off of it though, doesn't it?
I think it does. And the High Gain and the Cushcraft probably aren't available anymore, or if they are, they won't be for much longer because those were by MFJ. And if all else fails, it says get out the old rule book. Now,
Right.
let me actually let me grab this one again. I will post this in the okay, actually I didn't need to do that, but I'll post it in the chat here. If you guys want to read through that. As soon as I figure out it. I must not have copied it.
I'm not familiar with the 6B TV, James. I'm sure it does, but I don't know.
I can probably answer something for you a second here. There we go. That was the first page we looked at, guys. What was the question?
Um, the 6B TV, does it have traps in it? I'm pretty sure it does.
Yes, yes. All the BTVs are all trapped. The difference on the 6, when you go 6, I think that brings in 80.
That's 6 bands, right? It's with the 4
It's
4
6
is the 4
band.
band.
And what that one does, it actually gets rid of the capacity hat, for some reason. I guess you don't need it, which I liked because I was gonna take mine camping with me, but this is when I first started, man. I was, like, looking for something to take camping with me. So this is let me put this down. This is what they call a disguised antenna. This is from DX Engineering also. It's by, N4AQ. God, gives his address and everything. Maybe I don't wanna do that. It's out there though. He lives down in Florida, Lady Lake, Florida. Albert Parker. And what he did is he moved into an HOA. And it looks like it's a HOA for. I think I did watch one of this. See one of this guy's postings once before. Looks like he lives in like a trailer park down there. If it looks like a trailer to me, like a big
Right.
trailer. And what he did is he took this. He bought 2-inch diameter PVC tubing, but he didn't buy Schedule 40. He bought the 120. I think it's called 120, which is the thin stuff. And it happened to fit right around this antenna. Now, I do think you're going to get what would you call that, little coupling or something there, Abe?
Yeah, probably.
Some kind of skin effect. So it may change your tuning a little bit. He said he did use a tuner. The 4BVT is a tuned antenna. It's just like a DX Commander, only it uses traps. Okay, so there is some loss there, but I tend to like a lot of metal in the air for an antenna. Tell you the truth, when I was doing CB, my metal antenna outdid a fiberglass antenna with metal in it.
Right, right,
I'm
right.
just saying. So he constructs this, and I'll put this down in the chat here in a little bit too. Also, so he purchased it, he built it, and you can see it mounts to a pole. Basically, you drive a pole on the ground, so it's off the ground, and this is isolated from ground, right? I think if I remember right, on the mount, there's something that isolates
There's
it
like a
from the
piece of
pole.
PVC or something like not PVC, Teflon or whatever it is between it.
Yeah, something like that. So he does this whole thing, and his conclusion was he disguised the antenna works well on bands from 40 through 10. He uses a Collins. This is old. I think this Collins. I mean, nobody uses. I mean, there are guys that use the boat anchors, but they use them by choice nowadays. Um, and he gets good reports, CW and SSB. I can't compete with the big boys, which we've already told you that's not going to happen. You're not going to compete with that guy down the street that has the tower and the
Right.
the guy that does what do you call it? Competes for contacts and stuff, but you can have a lot of fun with it, right? And he makes a beautiful flagpole. He says, now he used. Let me see if I can tell you guys. Like I said, I'll put this in. If you guys, this might be an answer for you guys to have a pretty decent antenna. He used thin wall PVC in a 12-foot section of 1.5 inch at the top, I think, for the top of it. And he does hang a. I would, if it was me, I'd do a pretty small antenna off of this because PVC is not the strongest. But there's a picture of it right there. So that is another way you guys can do something that. I mean, that's an idea. And then if you did, this one doesn't technically need a tuner, but if you did do, let's say you did your own and basically just did a vertical. What is the footage? I don't remember. I think they say 41 feet. So if that's pretty tall.
41 feet is pretty tall.
But you find out what's a good length. I mean, we talk 41 for our or 25 for our Poseidon. So that's doable, and you could maybe get a little bit more out of a nice solid piece of aluminum going up at 25 feet and tuning it, and then tune it down at the bottom where you see where his plants are down here. Put some bushy plants around, put your tuner down there so people don't see it, and then bury your cable. So I will
Liberty
throw
keeps saying
this.
44-foot vertical is a classic.
Oh,
And that,
that's it.
what is it, 5/8 of 20 meters or something like that?
I think so. So there's a link to that, guys. If you're interested, if nothing else, it's some good read. I'm not going to sit here and read the whole
Seagulls.
thing. I'm not a very good teacher of reading,
How you doing,
but
crazy?
but this is just some of the stuff, and I really looked into this when I first started. I was like, I don't live in an HOA, but I was paranoid of antennas. I've gotten over that, but I think I told the story one time. I built my 6 meter Yagi, and I was tuning it. And to tune them, sometimes you set them on their butt and stick them straight in the air. And I make a contact with the guy, and he's like blowing my ears out in here. And I said something, and he goes, "Are you the guy down the creek?" I'm like, yeah." He goes, "I know where you're at." He goes, "I'm up on the hill right above you." And actually, we did go in and visit with that guy one day.
Hey,
We were
Hollywood.
thinking about getting some stuff started in our firehouse there for a while. We had a comm center up there for hams. And I asked him if he was interested, and I never got it going. I didn't like the chief, so I didn't want to make him look good. He was a short timer, man. He didn't care about our city, so it was kind of hard to get behind him.
You're like, I'm non-cooperative with this guy.
Well, yeah. So anything longer than an eighth wave will work. I'm sure Hollywood's got a bunch of ideas on stuff like this too. I don't know if you just got in here, but so there are things you guys can do. Um, I think wire is probably the easiest and most stealth
It's the and most pocket friendly, right?
and pocket friendly. Yes, because you can buy. We showed what I showed 100 foot of wire the other night for $10 or something like that.
Yeah.
Deep copper wire. We can pull that down if you want. So just some ideas. I don't know. I don't deal with it, so I haven't put a ton of time into it. Maybe that's a good video for me to do, since I like building antennas. I did see an antenna the other day. The guy does 160 to 6. The whole thing was probably 4 feet long. It was all coils. He ran coils, a set of coils, and then a space, and another set of coils,
Right.
and then three winds. If you have nothing and no room, that might be an antenna for you. Maybe I'll do a video on that just to see if it works. To me, it sounds like more of a compromise than other stuff we've talked about today. But it got this guy from 160 to 6, and I don't have anything that does 160 here. Well, I did. I had a half square that I could for 40 that I could tune there.
Yeah, I
And
don't
it
have any
well.
160. I would love a 160 meter antenna, but I just don't know. I have no idea how I would do it. I guess I'll have to get
Well, I think coils for that would probably be the easiest way to get something that's not too huge.
but I'd probably want pretty big coil at the bottom there, because like
Right.
smaller
Big around.
coils are super lossy. So I'd want something 160 meters. Any coil you're going to use is lossy, but I'd probably want like at least a foot in diameter coil.
Liberty Cave rubbing it in. How blessed he is. He lives in God's country up there, you know.
That's right.
I actually might I have to find that guy's video again. It wouldn't take it. Just he basically builds it on a piece of PVC, and there's nothing to it. And I'm wondering if it's something
I
that
saw a guy who did a 160 vertical, but I mean, it was like 60 some feet tall. I couldn't put
a lot of guys verticals are what a lot of people do, because you could do like a quarter wave, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or even like Hollywood say the eighth wave, maybe.
Well, it doesn't have to span a whole lot of distance, right? Which is really handy.
Well, and you can do inverted. They do inverted L's. That's why the inverted L's are so. He's saying put a capacitor hat over the.
Yeah, and that makes it tough, right? Like because capacity hats, you talk about wind load and all that, and weight, right?
Yeah, but there's always ways around things. So I've looked into more. I got a friend that's always one step ahead of the Karens. You know what I mean?
I've had a lot of luck, like you were saying, just with wire, like end feds and stuff like that. And that's
I think the 9-to-1, if you don't have a lot of room, is probably one of the better ones too, because now you don't have to have as much wire. I mean,
well, my first real HF antenna was a 9-to-1 that I had about 19 feet off of the ground, and it was mounted horizontally. And I want to say it was 35 and a half feet long, something like that. And it was noisy. It was a noisy antenna, but I mean, I was able to make contacts with it.
Yeah. I, you know, um, even if you did a Moxon, say if you're interested in one band, like 20 is a good band or 10, you could throw something like that up pretty quick each night, and you can just lay it. I had that little 6 meter. Remember the one that used to be on my trailer all the time that I
Yep.
did the
Yep.
intro to? I just hung that on my fence. And that was for 6 meters, so it was
Didn't you
fairly
do
small.
didn't you do a hex 6 meter hex too?
That's what that was. A 6 meter hex. Yeah,
Okay.
that was the one I had. That I used to have it turning because I had that little 12-volt rotator that I built.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to address that again one of these days and see if I can make something a little more stout. But a Moxon is a good antenna. It might be your better, like 20 meters is good at night, right?
Hmm.
When I get into Australia and stuff, that's usually around 8 o'clock at night. And something like that you could throw up in the dark, I would make everything like I would paint all the arms like flat black, use black wire, and maybe even put some black paint over that just to keep glare off it or something. And you could throw that thing up 20 feet easily, especially a 10 or 20 on the big mast like you have that you said you spent. Would you say you spent for your,
It was
excuse
like
me.
$250, something like that.
Yeah, that's those big ones, guys, with the clamps, right? Has the
Yeah.
clamps and stuff.
Well, I actually
Uh,
bought
well,
something's wrong with my mic.
mm,
I actually bought 45 footer. That's how do I say it? It's right.
yeah, you touched something there. Like something's loose. So there's lots of options, and don't let the Karens be a deterrent to you guys.
How's that?
That's better.
I think this wire might be bent a little. The radius on it might be bent a little too much.
Can you remember what you're going to say now?
Nope. It's
You
gone.
didn't get enough out that I could help you either.
No. Oh, so I bought I have the 30, I think it's actually like 33 foot is the one fiberglass mast that I have. And
Hmm.
then I bought a 45-foot one, but I have not put it up yet. It's way, way bigger than I expect. Like, I'll have to use the step ladder and stuff like that to put it up.
It's Les Moxon is the actual guy's name, I think. Right? I think it was Les. That antenna fits. I personally think the Moxon's a little bit better than the hex beam because it's straighter, but we're talking negligible, I'm sure. And certain ones, I had a friend that built. He didn't like the hex beam because it didn't fit in his space as well, the direction he wanted to point it.
DX Commander has a new, what does he call it? The Venture or something like that? It's a
I think
smaller one.
Don has it. I think it's a 4 band.
I think, yeah,
Something like
40, it was a 40,
I think
20,
it's only
15.
Don. Can you? And I know Don has it. I think Don just did a video, and Don's using really nice radios. He used the braided stuff like you use for grounding for his radios now.
He
The
calls it
Venture is
strap.
yeah. Well, it is. It's like that. He says it's a 3 band. What's the length of that, Don? I think it's shorter, so that might be a good throw it up because I think it's. I mean, I've seen Don handle this thing, and it's pretty easy just to throw up. He throws it up in his. And you actually guys might want to watch Don's video on that on the stake that he uses for it. I think I turned him on to it. It's 22 feet. So if you guys are in a HOA that has 2-story houses, it's not any taller than your house. And if you strategically put it someplace that's good
Don's
for
got
you, and
that inverted delta too, right?
I think it does.
That's a pretty
Don's
big
got a lot of
antenna.
stuff, man. Don's got a lot of stuff. A delta loop actually is something like like the thing that we're doing here. Like these things that we're probably going to offer eventually. Um, that's a vertical or a dipole, right? But
Mhm.
you could also do a delta loop out of that thing too. You could throw some kind of a. I mean, this one actually has a. This is actually a Poseidon inside. I think. I really need to mark some tape on them, which is which.
Right, so you know what you got.
because I have I have two different 4-to-1s, one with a 43 and then one with a,
Mix
it's
52.
actually, it's, no, it's the green one.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
basically the Poseidon.
mix 52 powdered
Oh,
iron.
mix 52. Yeah. And it's the big one. It's like a 230, I think. No, it's not quite a 240. It's really nice in the box. And I haven't had a chance to take that one out and try it. We have been bombarded by rain here and we don't hardly ever get rain. So I get spoiled because I can usually go out and do antenna stuff during the winter. It's either been cold here for us or raining. I mean, like the video I was talking about, I've been trying to shoot that for a week, trying to get out. Well, plus I didn't feel like I was sick. So the
Yeah, I think
doublet,
I caught
Don.
your cold, man. I've
Yeah,
been
I don't
sick
know how
and
you
stuff.
did that, but the doublet, if you guys want one antenna that works really well, if you run a doublet and if you run the 300 ohm stuff, Dr. Fong told me that wasn't good, but mine works fine. He says because of the multiples. I don't know. He says 450 is better, but 300 ohm is not any bigger. It's lighter than coax. So probably, I mean, you could run that stuff close to a tree to where it kind of blends into the tree or something. If
Here's
you have
some of
the
that.
right stuff, that's 300 ohm.
Yeah, and
Same
then what
stuff.
you were saying 450.
He was saying 450 because it's something with the mold. You know, he's a scientist, man. I'm not.
I got some 450 here. That stuff is
It's a lot
not
bigger,
flexible. You know what I mean? Like it's not. It doesn't seem like it's very easy to work with.
but the 300 would be easy to hide or make your own. Make it out of some silicone wire if you have to. I mean, or PVC. The spacers are the hard part. What was that the kid showed us the other day? The little rubber ones. Those are
The
actually pretty
hanger for
cool.
hangers or hanger
You know,
keepers or something like that.
they go over to keep your hanger from coming off the rod. Don has 1,000 feet. Thanks, Don. 1,000 feet of 300 ohm.
Yeah, send me about 500 feet of that.
Yeah, there you go. Now, if you guys do make the doublet, make sure that you don't put too much coax in that. You want to keep your coax around 4 to 6 feet.
No,
Never
no
less.
idea, James.
You, it's got to do with the spacing, James,
And the dielectric, right?
and the dielectric around it. So you're just kind of guessing. I don't know. There's probably Hollywood probably knows how to measure it. I don't know. I don't. Yeah.
Tom's asking how wide is that? I'm assuming he's talking about the 300.
Yeah, it's
It's
like
it's
3/4
about
of an inch.
yeah. It's right at it's actually closer to a third of an inch. About a third of an inch, son. I don't have my caliper sitting around here.
What's a third of an inch?
It's less than a half.
Less than a half. Less than a half. Okay.
I don't know if you ever saw that story where some company came out with the third pounder hamburger, which is bigger than a quarter pounder, but people weren't buying it because they thought a quarter pounder was bigger because it's got a 4 in it instead of a 3.
Yeah, that's math and people's math, I guess.
Yeah.
If you guys have any other, if you have any other ideas you want us to go over and try to investigate for you guys or something for show, 0.333. Yeah, thanks, Liberty Kid. Put it in the comments, and we'll try to pick up something. We try to come up with different stuff all the time. I think Ape's got something for next Thursday already, and yes, I do have stuff for that. You asked me, I didn't. I guess you asked me last night after I went to bed.
Yeah.
My wife asked me, "Do you have that leg thing where your leg jerks at night and sleep with?" I'm like, not that I know of. She goes, "It was because my dog does."
Restless leg syndrome, I think is what they call it.
Restless leg syndrome, yeah. So, I think it was just the way I was falling asleep.
Well, I used to think that restless leg was something that the doctors just made up so they could get you another prescription.
Right.
And it's like when I was a kid, I never heard anybody. My grandpa was never like, "Oh, my restless leg acting up." Never heard it, but now everybody's got it. Maybe it's the microplastics. I don't know.
I don't know. I never looked into it. I think she was giving me a bad time.
Well, the other one I think is made up is the fibromyalgia. No, maybe I'm not
Oh, I think that
sensitive.
isn't that cancer?
No, fibromyalgia is the one where it's like there's no test to tell you that if you have
Oh,
it, and it's like all symptomatic. And my neighbor's wife, who I just think's lazy, it was like, my fibromyalgia is really killing me today. I'm so tired. I'm weak.
oh,
I'm irritable. I'm like, that sounds just like your regular behavior. But,
yeah. What's different today?
right.
Look
What's
at
up,
this.
Mike?
Do you ever just have these things laying around sometimes?
Dude, I've got
No
so
idea
many
what.
of them. I've got a box just filled with them. So when I buy stuff now, I try to with a silver Sharpie. I try to
I
write
do
with it
too,
because you never know.
and I have no idea what this one's for.
But I've got a whole
It's
box of them.
just sitting on my desk too, which is kind of weird. So it's probably something I reviewed or tested or something. I try to mark them too because, like for the crap top, I put crap top on it,
Right.
because no one will be able to find that later. We had fun last time with Mr. James in here. He was keeping us company.
He came and joined up.
I've got
Good
a
one.
guest lined up that you guys will probably like, but I haven't heard back recently. I guess it's on me to get back to them. But if you guys know anybody that you want to get on, there's a new woman in
12
ham radio, guys.
12,000 views on an introduction video
Yeah,
in one day or something like that.
something like that. I think she's a friend of our buddy Matt down in Florida.
Camper Matt, right? Matt with the camper.
Could be his daughter. I don't know. I don't know if he had kids or not. So be careful.
Yeah.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
we're pretty much at that time, guys. It was fun having everybody here, and I'm glad you guys checked in.
Yep. I'll go
Hopefully this
ahead and
was
hit the button. Thanks, Chuck, and thanks everybody in the
Yep.
chat. Much appreciated.
Tune in Thursday. Get another
See you guys.
riveting video for you guys or stream.